In the 16th chapter of the Gospel of Luke, Jesus tells us a story. And of all of the accounts that we have in Scripture, it's probably the best description that we'll find concerning hell. And the story is about a man who was a beggar. His name was Lazarus. And Lazarus was a man who did not have all of the fineries of life, but there was a man who did. And he was just simply described as being a rich man. And Lazarus requested of the rich man that he could just take the crumbs that fell off the rich man's table so he just might have some type of nourishment. But the rich man refused and would not allow him to have just a few meager crumbs. So in the story, Jesus says that they both died. And Jesus describes it as a place of torment that the rich man was in. And Lazarus was in a place referred to as in Abraham's bosom. He says there was a gulf between the two. And the rich man, it says, that he spoke over to Abraham. And he said, Father Abraham, would you send Lazarus over here to dip his finger in water and cool my tongue, because I am tormented in these flames. So you have the picture. Here was the beggar who didn't have much in this world, but he had faith, and his faith has brought him to a place of comfort, waiting for the coming of the Lord. And that's a whole different set of theology right there. But this man who had lived his life outside of faith, had not trusted God, had not followed any of the commandments of God about generosity and giving and loving and all of these things. He had rejected all of that. Enjoyed his life of wealth. But when the time came that he departed from this earth, then consequences had to be paid. And see, this is the story that needs to be understood in every person's heart and life. Scripture talks about eat, drink, and be merry, and do whatever. And I say to people, yeah, you do that if you want to, but there's one thing you better never do, and that's die. Because when you die, then you face the consequences of the life in which you lived and the faith that you rejected. And then you'll face, if indeed you chose a path totally separate from God. And I said on Monday, I'm not the one that's got to judge this, because I don't know everything about the mercy of God, but I do believe in the mercy of God, but I also believe in the judgment of God. And a person who rejects Christ, rejects God, rejects faith, will face the consequences that they would bring into their own lives. You see, he said, send my brothers back. He said, no. He said, even though one rose from the dead, many still will not believe. This is Pastor Jack King with the gospel on the radio broadcast.